staying with us, we're still discussing parenting because we showed that video. And I mean, we all have stories. I've shared my story, even in my own book, stories of where my father had the box of shortbread biscuits where my father made me to finish. So we've had all the experiences, but there's an angle I'd like us to touch on before we go, which is the power that is given to children, especially in the West. The kind of power these children have, and they know they have, because it is indoctrinated into them from then they're in creche all the way in kindergarten, where they know that they have that kind of power, the kind of power we never knew we had. And it kind of helped us to condition us to be dependent solely on our parents. But they are dependent not only on parents, also on the state. They depend on their children because they feel that these are avenues that can save us here. The only person that can save you is your parent. So if your parent says no, guess what? It's no. But so that my question is, that power, because we are now getting, our society in Africa is evolving towards the West. Is it something we need to continue to do, or should we rearrange ourselves? Say, okay, have that power, release or curb the power we give to children? Because here now, we're telling children that, listen, it's your life. You have to make your own choices. You know, their parents telling you that you don't have to be, that you have to be friends with your child. I remember that was many years ago when I was having kids, when my first child was about 7 or 8 years old, Mrs. Olaya, my former principal in Corona, she was our speaker in my church. And one of the things she said that stuck in my head, she said, your child is not your friend a day before 18.
Okay.
That thing stuck with me. And many years later, I think Bishop Obama now said a few things relating to that. But that day, she said that thing in my church, that your child cannot be your friend a day before 18, because that day, right, you are their guide. You are their, right now, I am your boss. You live in my house, you eat the food. We can be having conversations, but we're not friends. You must see me as your boss, as a person that leads and guides you.
Lagos State, for instance, we have child protective laws that limits excessive power for parents. So you cannot carry your child and say you are angry, mercilessly abuse your child. When you...
sorry, this call is very far.
Oh, yeah.
Oregon, in the U.S., now, far place.
From...
Thanks for calling. You're live. Good morning. Olamide.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, just wanted to talk about the topic, the Walmart, when you brought it up.
Yeah.
The reason why we don't allow the employees to intervene, because I heard one of your hosts was talking about when they have criminals coming, is because they insure the stores. Okay, so anything stolen, insurance will pay them back. So if your employee, if they intervene and they're injured or killed, they can sue the store for putting their life in danger. So that's the reason why they don't allow them to intervene. Just give them the chance to steal anything. Insurance will pay for the items back. Now, in regards to the child, in where I am right now, the parents are willingly giving up their children to child services. That we have what is called the voluntary program, where you can give up your child, where you have children that they are now they're slapping therapists, they're slapping their teachers in school. So they're out of control, and the parents, most of them they're mostly single parents. They can't handle it, so they are willingly giving up their children to the government. And we've had that increased rate now over the past 3 years where I live. So single parent family is very hard to deal with this kind of children, and unfortunately, that's what we have going on right now.
Okay. So thank you very much, Olamide. So he's suggesting there's a possibility that it's a single mother who doesn't have that. They don't have the partnership to the firm discipline opportunities. So they give their child to the states because they've even given up on raising that child themselves. So that's what he was saying. But others are saying, I think the anti-Taiwo said that there's a possibility the child might be autistic. There are different angles. We don't see that.
Someone is saying here that
there's a child might be autistic.
Olonirua says, this child is sick. At this stage, it is convenient to say the child is stubborn. And we think spanking or other forms of punishment will help her.
Let's take a few more comments.
The condition will worsen as she grows up. She needs professional help and quickly too.
Mrs. Tijani said, sorry, Mrs. Tijani said, children need boundaries. Like adults, we all occasionally need a mental reset.
Yes.
Know your child and understand that there are repercussions for your actions. You can't leave a child to run rampage. We're not in a jungle.
Exactly. And he says, no spanking does not mean no discipline. Give Amaka, Grand Commander of the Niger. You know, sorry, there. Let me
Okay,
finish.
yeah.
Moses Lawal says something too lightning fast. Igbarun Ifoti would have quickly restored her to factory setting. Spare the rod and spoil the child is not a joke. Even Jesus did not preach to those gambling in the temple. Rather, he flogged them out.
So you know, like how Moira was talking about, you know, what should be done in terms of too much power. So I think communication is important, where I sit my kids down and I say, the state has put certain laws in place to protect you from abuse. Because those laws were put to protect the kids from abuse and certain things, right? So me, now me go tell my pikin, say, this is the law. If this and this happens to you, you should report it or whatever. But when it comes to discipline, if you do this, there are consequences for your actions. And this is that. And then if you now also push the law towards us, will you lose us as parents? And I'll also give you case studies of people that have gone, foster care homes, things that happen and what you can be susceptible to, where peer pressure, rape, everything happening in care homes. So by the time I finish talking to you and communicating with you,
let me take this story. I'll come to you, Mary, in a second, please. Otumba Karim said, sadly, I believe our society is inadvertently raising children who will feel entitled and above authority. As parents, we are our children's mirrors. If we weren't properly parented ourselves, it's challenging to parent effectively. I like this because recently I just told you guys what happened to me on Sunday. My daughter, we're having a fight over what she's going to wear to church. So we're having that back and forth, right? So eventually, I was really upset with her. Then Monday morning, she was taking her time because she was really upset with mommy on Sunday. How can mommy be talking to her? So Monday morning, she took her time dressing up for school. I kept wondering why she didn't come downstairs to have breakfast. At the same time, she does every day. She took her time. I didn't say a word. I didn't even call her. When the other ones were ready,
you got in the
I
car.
got into the car.
Simple.
And we drove out.
That's it.
Then she came downstairs. Mommy had gone, and she just thought I'd wait for her. She had to walk. Now, a neighbor now saw her walking, and now took her to school.
That's it.
Later, I came back home. She was just doing like normal. Hey, hello, mommy. Hello.
And you move on.
And I moved on.
Yeah.
But later, I called. I said, don't you think I deserve an apology? And she now apologized for what happened. You know. But you see, I was able to make her see that you cannot. I didn't beat her. But
That's what I'm saying. Don't pass the age.
But yeah, just before she's 12, yeah.
Pass the age.
Because my mom did similar.
Anyway,
Yes, Mary was
if she were younger, she wouldn't even have you would have sorted that out. When she's younger, it's even easier. But I love the way that she handled it, and that's how I see. In fact, someone was telling me of her child that she's always trying to get him to get to school early, always late, and then one day they get to school, or it's in the morning, he's looking for one uniform or the other. He gets to school and no shoes, only socks. She dropped him off with his socks. You go in, you don't try and, it's not the beating, you don't try to fix it. The next day, there was no day since then that he forgot his shoes. In fact, he became the child that will make sure everything is ready. And,
Let me shock you, ma'am. The next day, she was ready 6:45.
That's it.
Downstairs, waiting for me.
So that's what, but I want to say,
What's
you know, you had asked the question where you said, it seems like we're moving more towards the West.
Yes.
But I don't think so. I think that, at least for now, I think that we're coming to a place where we're more balanced. I think the West have gotten to the point that they have gone over, where they've sort of held the parents back. The parents cannot really parent properly, especially when it comes to disciplining, their children. But for Africa, I think that there's a balance, because we are coming from a place where a lot of violence and abuse used to be associated with raising a child. I'm not saying that that's how it is all the time, but we had issues where we had abuse. And these conversations we've been having is teaching us that there are different ways to do it and we can balance it. So what I see people do is that there's the conversation part, there's the methods that you use like this, but also we also have a society that understands, I may not be able to beat another person's child because they say we should not beat, but I will talk to you, I will eye you. I will tell you that what you are doing is wrong, and I'll move on, and I'll be calling your parent, where's this person's child, and you move on. And so we're still able to maintain discipline. The key word here is discipline, and I like what he says here. He says, for him, he sees a false dichotomy, as in not spanking or limitless freedom. And that's one thing where every time we have this conversation, I feel that we always mistake. When we say, it's because this person is not being beaten, means that the person is not disciplined at all. There are two, you can still discipline a child, establish those boundaries, and have your child behave properly, even without beating. And even with the beating, we've seen children that because of the beating, they've become even more strong-headed, and it's hard to discipline them. So really, it's about making sure that that child gets the message. More importantly, more than instilling and showing your power over the child is what usually violence.
I have to wrap up on this, unfortunately, because I think I like how you wrapped it up, Mariam, where it's not about the spanking. it's core, the core thing here is discipline your child. And I like what Nima said earlier, the timing. Don't lose that opportunity, that moment, because then every time, every opportunity is a learning curve for you to fix, to be able to instill that discipline and memory. We all remember that discipline.
I remember the slap that.
I remember that those cookies. I would never. I wrote it in my book. My father bought a box of cookies from Abuja. It wasn't mine. It was for my stepmom. But my stepmom also had sent me cookies.
So you thought?
So I thought it was mine. So I had to put the cookies and I was giving out my neighbors. I was sharing. Saturday morning, I would never forget it.
Your birthday.
But my mother's PA came to my time and said, Mommy, I heard that Murayo finished the talk biscuit. She has opened it and given it out. Is that his own? Please, give me money. Let me go to Lagos to buy. My mother said, lie. Her father must see what she did. I never forget my mother for that statement. My father woke up.
Needed.
It was needed because my father woke up, saw that the carton was still there. Said, you like biscuits? You will eat biscuits. Dining table, sat down there, and this man was there, Mr. Femi Falano. He was there because he used to work with my dad. Yeah. He was there, he was begging on my behalf. He sat me down there with boxes of cookies. You finish the talk biscuit and shortbread. You finish it today. Start opening it. I was eating. They were begging. I was eating the biscuit. After that day, if you give me biscuits, I would not eat. But you see, we all remembered.
Each one for
so it's not about spanking all the time.
They were beating you every
Although I was spanked,
day.
No, they don't beat you every day. They don't beat you.
No, maybe it doesn't change.
This morning, I told my son, I said, you pick yourself up from school. Yeah. He was running after my car. Mommy, please, I'm sorry. Because he will pick yourself up from school. Some things you don't beat every day.
This last word.
Establish your authority.
Because we should also know that discipline doesn't also end with kids or teenagers. Because even in my university, I think my year one, final semester, I had boyfriend and I wore one tight, short, hot skirt that I wanted to wear to school. My mother was dressed up, but she just came out. She just saw me, like, ready to go to school. She said, where are you going to? I said, I'm going to school. She said, like this? I said, yes, now. But the skirt long, but the thing tight somehow, then transparent. She said, you're not going to school like that. I said, what do you mean? I'm in university, adult, 18. Who are you to tell me? I arranged myself. She said, no, you're not going today. She locked the door. She tore that skirt from, I will never forget that. She tore that skirt on my body.
Yes.
My mother, she tore the skirt on. She said, today, you don't go to school. I didn't go to school that day. When she came back, she said, you don't go to school. But if you want it, I will tear. Not be person tell me.
We have to wrap up, but that's all we can take. But really, parenting is a conversation we have to continue to have. As Nima always says, we'll all get our report card, not now, later in future. We'll now review all this.
Stop threatening us.
Our report card. Let us pray that God will help us that our report card will
not get our report
Let's go to a short break.
In God's hands.
When we come back, we'll bring in our guests. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.